Welcome to Talk Business with Audrey. Hosted by Audrey Bell Carney. The show that helps everyday people turn their big ideas into successful businesses so that they can live the boss life. Sit back and take notes.
Hey, listen. Welcome to another episode of Talk Business with Audrey. It's been a minute, y'all. It's been a minute. And I've been busy, but I'm happy to be here today. My guest today is Miss Sandra Madhere. So listen, is it Madhere or Madhere? Because I've been saying Madhere.
It's Madhere.
Madhere.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Madhere.
It's a French last
We've
name.
been all saying it wrong. So
it's okay.
Madhere.
It happens all the time.
And it's so funny because my daughter says, so my daughter is, she told me she has a meeting with you guys. And I was like, Sandra, she's like, I'm pretty sure she said her name was Sandy. I said, well, she says Sandra. I said Sandra, and she told you Sandy. I'm sure it's all of them. It's like
it's all
the title, right?
Yes, exactly. Been called them all. Sandy's my nickname, so it's whatever you want to call me. That's nice.
Listen, I want to thank you. Yes. I have one of my good friends. Her name is Sandra. Her sister called her Sandra. Mm-hmm. I call her Sandra. All of my friends call her Sandra, but her family calls her Sandra. And so I'm just used to saying Sandra. So, but thank you for accepting me calling Sandra. Yeah, so listen, I'm so excited, y'all, to have Sandra here with me. She is an amazing photographer. She's also a member of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce. And it's been a minute since I've done a Talk Business with Audrey episode. That's about to change because we have some amazing women in the chamber. And we're going to be bringing them to you back to back, baby. Back to back. They're coming back to back. But today I got a great one here. Let me tell y'all something. So we were at a meeting. And Sandra pulled out this brochure. That's her marketing brochure. That took over the entire meeting. We stopped doing everything we were doing because the brochure was so nice, and I had never seen anything like it. But when I tell you presentation matters, it does, because when people like beauty, I don't care who they are, they like beauty, and that's what she does. She makes people beautiful. She make their brand stand out. She make their events stand out. So I'm happy to have you. So we're gonna do some little background stuff first. So tell us a little bit about who you are. I know you're from New York. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I'm from New York, Queens, Jackson Heights specifically. I grew up there. And I've moved around a little bit. And after I started dating my husband, we moved around with Connecticut, New Jersey, then South Florida, and now we're here in Atlanta.
What part of Jersey? Because I grew up, I'm an original Georgia Peach, but I grew up in Jersey. What part of Jersey did you live in?
Bayonne.
Had family in Bayonne.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a great little community over there.
It is nice. Over there in Hudson County, it's really nice over there. The Hudson River is there. Weehawken and all. I used to go to Weehawken just to hang out in Hoboken, just to kind of hang out by the water in Jersey City.
Yes, us too. Jersey City. Yes.
I used to work in Hudson County too. So now listen. We do some amazing work. And how did you get into photography?
Well. I was always that kid with the camera in school. It was a disposable camera back then because that's what I had. And it was just always a hobby. And then in 2008, when the recession hit, I got laid off from corporate. I was working at a major investment bank in Wall Street. And my friends were like, this is your opportunity for you to try photography. And I was like, oh, well, maybe. And then a week later, one of them introduced me to a friend of theirs. And he happened to be a photographer, and he invited me to assist him or go with him to shoot Fashion Week, New York City Fashion Week.
Nice.
And that was like it was almost like a sign, And when I saw that, I was like, well, maybe, okay, yeah, of course I'll do it. That was a dream come true because I loved fashion. That's why I love photography. And I ended up going to Fashion Week for 5 seasons.
Wow.
Just so like maybe a few years of that. And what I really loved was doing fashion shoots, but the fashion in photography industry is very, very competitive. And what I wanted to do is actually give that fashion shoot experience to everyday women.
Wow. So now coming from corporate, I've been an entrepreneur for quite a long time. And I know when you leave your 9 to 5 where the money is steady, it's a little bit hard to make that leap, but you were kind of forced to make that leap. How was the adjustment? Because I know having that steady paycheck coming in, and then you have to go out on your own, that could be a huge adjustment. How was that adjustment for you?
It was difficult. It was very hard. It's very hard. Honestly, it took years to really learn how to run my own business and made a lot of mistakes. I probably would do things differently, but it takes the experience to realize you need to do things differently. But
Exactly.
it was different. I think it helped me in many ways. First of all, having that corporate background experience, because the way I present myself in my business is a little bit different. Not I don't say it's completely different, but it's a little bit different than what most freelancers probably would do, or people running their own business, because I have that experience. So it helped. But yes, learning to price myself, sales, value myself, that's a whole other thing they don't tell you about when you're starting a business.
Right. When you did the 5 years with the fashion for the fashion,
Yeah.
did you make money during that time, or were you just acting as an apprentice
Hmm.
during that time?
Yeah, it
Mm,
wasn't. It was for a blog. It wasn't paid. It was more about look at this amazing opportunity. It's kind of those exposure type of opportunities.
mhm.
I learned a lot. I mean, it was just an amazing room to be in, and place to be in. So to me, it was, yeah, I wasn't getting paid, but I was like okay with it because just to be there was wonderful.
That is cool. Now, from that experience, when did you actually say, "Okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready to like venture out on my own. I've been shadowing this person for 5 years. I made some
Hmm.
great connections. I've seen a lot." When did you finally say, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to just go all in"?
To be honest, it was more when people started asking me to do shoots for them. And it didn't start with fashion right away. It was more like the family pictures, the headshot, friends that knew I was doing it. They were very supportive. My friends have always been very supportive. My family has always been very supportive. So they wanted to help me and, give book me. They needed the work, so they knew me, and they hired me to do it. Um, and many times I was like, "Oh my gosh, you sure you want me to do it?" But I just did it, and that's how I learned. Then I'd start taking it more classes in the space that I really wanted to do, which was fashion shoot experiences for everyday women. And then I started photographing models. I asked people to model for me, friends, and practice, and then I felt confident to start selling my services.
When it comes to pricing, a lot of entrepreneurs make huge mistakes when it comes to pricing because they set their prices too low. How did you know how to set the prices? Because I know for me, it took a long time for me to even get up the confidence to say, this is how much I'm going to charge. And I still struggle with that to this day because
Mhm.
I feel like, oh, I want to help everybody to be able
Mhm.
to afford my products and services or whatever. So
Mhm.
I still, even to this morning, I was like, and that's a package that should be $3,000, and I'm sitting here
Mhm.
saying 997. So how did
Mhm.
you get to the point where you felt confident enough to say, you know what, this is my price point, and I'm not bending on that?
It took years. It took years, but it took mostly learning my business mindset, working on my mindset. And we've talked about this briefly
Mhm.
before. It really all comes down to that valuing my work, knowing how much time I've put into learning what I do, how much uh, money I've put into my equipment, things like that. That in the beginning I did not value it. I didn't think oh, I can't charge $1,000 for a photo shoot. Everybody else is charging $250. That's, I should probably charge 225. And, and so when I stopped trying to undercut the other, I don't, just stop comparing myself really to other
Yeah.
photographers, still see what's happening in the space that in the area that I'm in, see, what they're doing. And then start how I can stand out so people can value the work. Yeah.
In this space, I feel like it's still predominantly male dominated.
Mhm.
Is that the case?
Yeah. Yeah,
How do you navigate that?
I'm sorry?
How do you navigate that by it being predominantly male dominated?
Um, Standing out, finding ways to stand out. My presentation, again, how I present myself. You just have to jump in, honestly, just jump in. And it's male, sometimes it may be male dominated. I don't know, maybe some women feel intimidated, but there's a lot of women in what doing what I do. Maybe not as known internationally or anything like that, but two of my biggest inspirations are women. I should say three. Of my biggest inspirations are women. I mostly follow women coaches, women photographers. Um, yeah, you just gotta kind of just jump in and do it.
Have you found that when you went to get a job or present your business to somebody, they kind of gave you a side eye because you were a woman, or did you think that that was a help for you to get more clients because you were a woman?
Um, well, I tend to work with women, and so I think it really, really helps. Yeah, absolutely. It makes them feel very comfortable. Um, the type of work that I do sometimes could be on a more intimate in the sense that I kind of go dig deep into their business and who they are personally as well. So maybe they feel more comfortable opening up to me. But I've had a good response being a woman in this industry. I haven't felt it. I haven't felt anybody like, you know, think differently because I was a woman. At least not that I felt it.
So we have one. So one of our members, she's about to do a shoot with Sandra, and it was funny because I was on my way to vacation, and she called me. She said, "I need some help," and I said, "What's going on?" She says, "I have to fill out this brand package for my pictures," and I was like, What do you mean a brand package for the pictures?" She said, there's a brand package. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I have never even looked at this type of stuff before. So what gave you the idea to put together a brand package to present to potential clients to so they can get pictures taken? Because when you think, okay, so you're a professional. I'm a novice. I'm not even a novice. I'm just a person on the other side, right?
Hmm.
I need some pictures. I'm just thinking, well, I'm gonna show up at a photo shoot. I'm
Hmm.
gonna take because
Hmm.
this is what I've always done. Take some clothes, take some makeup, do some changes, and that's it. No one has ever said, fill out this brand package. What
Hmm.
made you come up with the concept of creating a brand package? Because I thought that was pretty doggone, and it was crazy because she's like, listen, put me on the calendar because I have no idea what I'm doing. It was hilarious. What made you come up
Yeah.
with that idea?
Yeah. Well, I started realizing the more I worked with businesses or branding clients, that many didn't know who their client was, how to represent themselves to their client. So I started realizing I need to do more for them because I don't want them to walk away from our photo shoot with all these images and at the like 6 months later, a year later, say, "Oh, this doesn't really represent me. It's not really who I am anymore."
Mm-hmm.
So what I do, we do homework. We do work. I send them a guide where they have to answer a bunch of questions, and probably 4 out of 5 people are like, "I never thought about these questions before. Oh my god!" And they get it's difficult for them, but they love it at the same time because like I
Right.
do need to do this work. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I needed to do this work. So we do. I guess it's a little bit of a coaching in there, and how to help them come to the realization who they are, who their client is, how are they going to represent themselves for that client.
So when she was going through the process, and I'm sure you've gone through this with all of your clients, what has been some of the things that your clients discovered about themselves that they did not know until they actually went through your branding process, your branding questionnaire?
Um, well, many of them, like I said, they didn't know how to uh, pinpoint who their client was, where to find their client, how to speak to them. I talked to them about telling a story through the images because that's really what branding is. They didn't. Most people actually don't even know what branding is. Yeah, some people have come to me for headshots. Oh, I need headshots. And I'm like, okay, well, let's dig a little deeper and say, what are you going to use? Find out what you're going to use them for. Oh, I'm starting a business. I'm going to be a coach and, I need some headshots because I'm building a website. I was like, well, it sounds like you need a branding shoot. Well, what's that? And we go through that. So then them realizing it's more than just a headshot, it's figuring out how to find their client and how to tell a story.
It sounds like when people first start out doing their business, they're really excited about getting a logo. And
Yes.
your business is way
Yes.
more than just a logo.
Yes.
People get lost in translation when it comes to that. They want the colors, they want the logo, they want
Hmm.
and that's great. You need those things, but there's so much more to all of that than just your logo and the colors.
Hmm.
Um, I want to ask you a little bit about your setup because I know photography can be expensive.
Hmm.
My daughter, her boyfriend is a photographer, and it was so funny because he was going to take some pictures for, I think it was my birthday. And I said something. He said, I'm going to go get this lens. But the lens was $2,000. I was like, look, do not go buy a $2,000 lens for me, please. Talk about some of the equipment that you guys use. Because when he said that, I was like, he's going to do what? She's like, he's gonna get this lens. It cost
Yeah.
$2,000. I was like, no, don't do that for me. So it was funny because I'm like, nah, don't do that. So talk about the equipment. And somebody's just starting out right now. What do they need to start? Do they need to go out and spend the $2,000 on the lens, or can they just start with something simple?
No. Yeah. First of all, it sounds like he wanted an excuse to buy that lens and he used it
Sounds
your
like it.
birthday shoot. Because I honestly, there's been times I've, kind of done something similar, but you don't need to. I started my career in doing photo shoots, getting paid photo shoots with a very old Canon entry level DSLR and a 50 millimeter lens. That's all I had for a very long time, for like year, like 2 years, and I did a lots of shoots with that, and I got paid with using that camera. So you don't need, and I was all natural light. All I had was a reflector, a white reflector to reflect light. And, there's a window, reflect some light back onto the subject. That's all I had. That's all we showed up with for a few years. So you don't need really much of anything.
I think you're right, because I was like, please don't buy a $2,000 camera lens on my behalf. Um, I know there are a lot of people that probably reach out to you about being a photographer, and because it gives you the opportunity to be creative and just to make things beautiful, and I think that's amazing. Like, if you ever listen to Good Morning with Nat, I'm always on there trying to figure out how to be creative, and listen. My husband has bought me a pottery wheel.
Oh yeah.
I have resin. I have molds. I have jewelry making kits. All of these things. I got a t-shirt press, a hat press, a mug, because I want to be creative, but I'm not creative. So the person that's looking at this interview right now and they're thinking, I really want to do photography. Do you have to be a creative? Do you have to have now, I am creative when it comes to business. I'm that creative person. Like, I can sit and talk to somebody and come up with a whole business and marketing plan in a matter of minutes in my head and then spit it out to them. But if I have to draw a straight line, that's a no for me. But a person that's thinking, I really want to, it's my passion, but I don't, I'm like, Audrey, I can't draw a straight line. I can't shoot a picture. My hand won't stay steady. What do you say to that person?
Practice. I think we're all creative. We were all born creative. If you look at these you have your granddaughter, I have my daughter, you look at their ideas and their creativity, you're like, wow, was I this way when I was their age? And we were all that way. We all were born that way. Some people kind of get pushed away from it by either the education system, their parents want them to be more academic.
Right.
And some people, it's honed in them, it's supported, so it really depends. But I think we could all tap back into that. For a photographer, I would suggest studying the different types of photography there is out there, because sometimes you have to figure out which one you want to do. There's so many different types. Do you want to do landscape? Do you want to do architecture? Do you want to do people? Do you want to do pets? There's so many. And just practice, practice. And it took me years. They say it takes 10 years to be an expert at your craft, right? Was it 10,000 hours or something like that?
Yes.
And so you have to work towards that. Yeah, I think it's possible.
Do you think when you were younger, you say you had a camera for a long time. How when we go back, how far back did you start with photography? Were you like 7, 3, 4? What was
No,
the age?
I was more in middle school. I was in middle school, I think, I always liked photography, but I think that's when middle school, if I remember correctly. I started bringing the cameras to school. But I always bought all the fashion magazines, not because I was a fashionista, but because I was obsessed with the pictures, with the photography in them. And I had stacks and stacks and stacks of old fashion magazines, and my mother would always threaten to throw them out, and I would say, no, I need them. And I would just go through them all the time and just look at the pictures.
Now that's interesting. Did your mom or your parents ever say at any point, well, you know what, maybe you should go into photography like early on before you went off to college? Because I think for me, when I went to college, I was very good in math and science, which makes a lot of sense now. But no one told me to go to school to be an engineer, which I think I would have been a daggone good engineer because I'm a problem solver. They told me to go to be an accountant. And I went to be an accountant. I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. Then I did nothing because I didn't have that guidance. Do you think your parents were thinking about, maybe she should go to be a photographer? Or they say, don't do that. That's not going to make you any money, because, creatives, that's what you normally get. You can't make any money doing it. Did you get that from your parents?
I got a lot of support. My mom, I come from my mom and my grandmother were both business people. My grandmother was uneducated and she owned a store in her country. She
Mhm.
counted on her fingers how to figure out the math and how much to charge people. She did that. She put all her children through private school doing that. And then my mom also had a little side business selling stuff, and I just continued that. And she wanted me to do whatever made me happy, if it was photography or anything else. And she was very supportive. Yeah, never said not to do it. She was excited. She was always excited when I would tell her that oh, I got a new client. She would always so excited and happy.
Yeah, that's what my mom was too. Like I could come with, and I used to come with a lot of ideas. Like that was my
Mhm.
problem. She and whatever I came to my mom with, she
Yeah.
always supported. And it's like, what do you need me to do? I think that was her way of kind of living through me because I asked her one time, was there something that you really wanted to do? And the one thing she said to me was start like a nonprofit for children, but she didn't get a chance to do that. She passed
Mm-hmm.
away in 2021 from COVID,
Right.
and I wasn't a big kids person, so I was like, ooh, that's the one business restaurants, and I don't know about that. That's
Mm-hmm.
so that was, but I think when I would come to her with these ideas, it gave her the opportunity to do something in entrepreneur space without having to actually do it herself.
Right.
So I understand that whole support thing.
Yeah.
Um, if you could sit down and have dinner with your favorite photographer, who would that be?
Annie Leibovitz. I
Ah,
said it right away because she's my main influence. That's the one I follow since I was a child. I've been
why
following
her?
her. I admire her work. I've always loved her style of work. It's moody, it tells a story. There's emotion in all of her images. I'm not gonna say I love every picture she's done, but I love her simplicity a lot of times. And the fact that she's a woman in this industry for so many years. She's like you say, Anna Leibovitz, like people in this space, they're like, oh my gosh, yes, we know who she is. So I really admire her.
Yeah, I've heard of her. Um, Thinking about your clientele, you started in just taking pictures of family and friends. How did you manage to say, you know what, I don't want to take babies, I don't want to do weddings,
Hmm.
that type of
Hmm.
thing? What made you say, I want to work with women in
Hmm.
business versus the babies and because it's like you said, I feel like there's so many. Like I was thinking about something the other day. Well, not the other day, today. So my granddaughter is going to start competition, cheer competition, and in my mind, I'm thinking, I know it's got to be a photographer taking pictures, so we're going to get all the pictures because
Hmm.
I'm a football aunt, so I followed both my nephews as they played football, and the photographers will come out and they would take the most amazing pictures. And of course, everybody bought the pictures.
Hmm.
So, how did you make the jump from like, I don't want to do with all them people, I just want to do with this group of women? What made you decide to go that route?
Well, I felt like I needed to try out different things, and I was always trying out. Oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna give it a go with newborns. At one point, I said that, um, but I realized I was kind of not focused. I wasn't really focusing in, so I was kind of getting it from here, from this, and oh, I need a headshot. Oh, I need family pictures. Oh, I need my a maternity picture, which I still enjoy doing maternity pictures,
Mhm.
but I wanted to just become a little more focused on. And once I put that energy out and my images start reflecting the type of work I'm doing, I knew I was gonna keep getting more of that work. And I do enjoy, like I said, working with women. I relate, obviously. A lot of women that I've worked with, when it comes to like doing beauty shoots, for example, they're doing it for a personal reason, some sort of, their divorce, or they've never took a picture their whole life, and now they're almost 60 years old, and they never had a beautiful portrait taken. So there's a lot of emotional reasons why women come to me to do a portrait session, and I can relate to that, and I felt a connection there with women. I mean, I just I really enjoy it. I really enjoy working with women now, and then business owners like myself who are trying to represent themselves. Some are single mothers, or they're just really good at what they do, but they don't know how to market themselves. So I just like helping them with that.
So that's a good segue into our next part, marketing. Have you done any paid marketing, or has it all been word of mouth and referrals?
I've tried paid marketing in the past. Um, I've tried Facebook ads, Instagram ads. I even did a rate. Yeah, I remember this now. Back in Connecticut, when we first moved there, and we were doing weddings. We wanted to do weddings, I should say. Wanted to do
Mhm.
weddings. We paid a radio station to do a raffle. Someone could win a wedding package just to get that experience. Start building that portfolio.
Mhm.
And so I've tried different things. And after 15 years doing this, connection marketing is the best way. Going out into the community.
Mhm.
That's been my best way of finding my ideal client, going to the spaces where I know they're going to be, um, and just even just connecting on, just making friends and just building my network. I'm new here in Atlanta, relatively new. I just relaunched my business this year, so I'm right now that's what's working for me. But I have tried those other ways, Facebook groups, dropping a comment saying, "Oh, I'm a photographer. Someone is looking for a photographer." I would do that. Again, not the best way for me. They didn't really have a return.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting too, because most people, the first thing they think about is, I'm going to run a Facebook ad. And to run a Facebook ad, you guys, that's a science. So don't even waste
Hmm.
your time and money trying to figure out how to do it yourself. You need to really work with the expert on that. I've run ads for clients before that got results. But when I tell you, it took me a good week just to figure out the Facebook board, the manager,
Yeah.
the ads manager. That's a science. And so if you're thinking about doing Facebook ads, find a professional. Don't just go in there dropping money, because you don't know what you're doing. You're going to waste money. And
Yeah.
Facebook does not play. You could put an ad up and it could be kicked off for a variety of reasons. I think I ran an ad one time. It was a picture of a woman. It was a health ad. It was a weight loss ad. Ran it for the client, and they kept kicking it back. I'm like, what's wrong with the ad? Well, the ad had a tape measure around her waist, and you could see just like the skin. They kicked the ad back for that reason.
Wow.
It was
Weird.
crazy. So, but that helped me perfect like how to run ads. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna no, don't call me because I don't run them anymore. It's a pain in the butt. So, but I did before, like in the marketing. My company is marketing, so I will run Facebook ads for clients and stuff like that. It is a science, and if you
Yeah.
don't understand the science, you will lose a lot of money. So,
I think it also depends on what business you're in, right? It's like a restaurant running an ad might do well because they want people to
mhm.
know who they are. They're open. They're calling anybody, like they want anybody to come to the restaurant practically. But it really depends. I think service-based businesses have to be careful with that.
Yeah, you have to be careful, and
Yeah.
you got to just consult a professional. That's all I'm gonna say about that,
Yes.
because you
Yes.
can lose a
Yes.
lot with
Yes.
ads. And I heard somebody say the other day they ran $5,000 worth of ad and then make one sale. I was like, what? But
Ugh.
that's because
Yeah.
they didn't know what they were doing, and so they lost a lot of money.
I
Um,
agree.
Thinking back to when you first started to where you are right now, what's your vision for the rest? Like, what's your next 3 year vision? Because I know we have these vision boards, we do these
Mhm.
parties, we talk about these things. What's next? Like, what's the next big thing you want to accomplish with your business?
It's funny you say that number 3 years because my husband and I have been talking about business ideas and plans for the next 3 years, where we want to
Nice.
be in 3 years,
Hmm.
and we think that's a good amount of time to kind of know where you want to be and grow something. Right now, I'm working on scaling my business because I'm the one stop shop. I'm like the only photographer right now, so I'm working on scaling that, adding associate photographers. I have clients in New York. I have clients in South Florida, and I have traveled to them. When I'm in town, I say I'm here, I'm shooting, but they have to wait till I'm there. So people wait to a couple of years until I come back. But
Wow.
yeah, because I have built these relationships with these clients, and one client I've been photographing her for 10 years already,
Wow.
through all different stages in her life. She from beauty shoot when she was single to maternity when she was having a baby, and then now she started a business, her own business. So we've worked together. So I have built these really good relationships, and I would like to have people in those areas that I can send to them. So scaling my business, seeing what else the businesses I'm working with need, and seeing how I can provide those services.
I've worked with a lot of creatives, and I consider you a creative. And a lot of times they don't focus on the business side. So
Mhm.
when you think about scaling, are you going to be the management side, or are you going to continue to do the business, or are you going to put someone in place to oversee the operations? Or is that something your husband going to do?
He's going to help me. Yeah.
Mm,
he's uh he's gonna help me some. The operations part, we'll probably work on it together. Right now we're in the process of figuring out our roles
yeah.
because, not gonna lie, we've tried it before and we didn't have the roles really, ironed out, who's gonna do
Hmm.
what. And when we
Hmm.
were kind of thinking that like my area is the creative side, and so it was like, why are you giving me advice on how to do my job? So I don't mind the advice, but I rather we have, he's agreed, let's try it this way. And so far, we're already agreeing on so much, and just like the communication is much better on how we're going to run things going forward.
Now that's pretty cool because my husband and I have tried that too. It doesn't work, so we haven't figured it out yet. As a matter of fact, we celebrate our 20th anniversary, 20th marriage anniversary next month.
Oh,
And I
wow.
remember when we were dating, we used to take these long drives, and I would have a legal pad, and I'd be writing out things, we making plans, and none of that has worked. So,
Hmm.
how do you separate? How are you going to separate business from family? Because
Right.
I think that was a problem for us. Like we couldn't figure out how to make it work. So
Yeah.
to keep the marriage intact, it's
Yes.
like
Yes.
I'm gonna stay over on this side, and you go ahead and go back to work, and I'm gonna do my thing over here. How
Right.
do you plan on making sure that stays intact? Because that could
Right.
be a little touchy.
We talked about that because same like you, we've tried multiple times and it didn't really work. And this time, right off the bat, we both said we have to be able to separate business and personal. I think communication is huge. I mean, and again, like you, we've tried, didn't work, so we know how we need to change, and we have to be very conscious of it, and not take things personal in the business side of things. That's
Mhm.
huge. That's huge. If I say I don't like your idea, I'm not saying I don't like you. I'm saying I don't like your idea.
Right,
I'm
right.
not saying something's wrong with us. I don't like your idea. Um, so yeah, just being able to communicate, and not take things personal. That's a huge one. And compromise, just like in marriage, a business partnership, you
Yeah,
have to compromise. You
yeah,
have to learn. You're not going to get everything your way, and maybe you have to try to find a compromise.
yeah. I think I think for me and my husband, I'm business all day and twice on Sunday. So that's one. So I'm not saying he's a slacker, but it's like, okay, did you do this? Like, this is me. And you know what was crazy? I think a lot of people I didn't recognize this about myself, but people like, Audrey, you're very analytical. And I was like, who, me? Because I never saw myself. I saw myself as being creative, not analytical. Because I like all right brain things, but when it comes to focusing and doing things, I guess I'm very left brain,
Mm,
and so is he, which is surprising because I would say to him, we need to get this done, and then I would do all these things, and I'm like, okay, so you didn't. I'm waiting for you to do your part, and so I just decided,
right.
we're gonna leave that right where it is, not right there. We're gonna stay right there, and we've been fine ever since, so I'm cool with that. Um, what's your favorite equipment? Because I know my baby, I call her my baby, she's my granddaughter. I wanted to She likes pictures, so we bought her a little, the camera is so cute. So it was a Kodak, but it's really tiny, but it's something.
Hmm.
She's 4, y'all, so she doesn't need like
Hmm.
expensive equipment, but at some point, because she really gets into taking pictures, and the other morning before she went to school, she calls me every morning at 9 o'clock before she goes to school, so she had the headphones on. I said to her, what are you doing? She says, I'm editing a video, I'm working. And
Stop.
I said, oh, okay. And she was into it. She didn't even eat breakfast. She had the headphones on. She's at the laptop. She told me she was editing a video. She
Gosh,
was working. And I said, okay. I said, mommy and daddy, they're in your way. She like, yes. And I was like, okay. So,
it's
people that are
amazing.
looking, oh my God, she's a piece of work.
Mhm.
People that are watching, they probably want to know, what do you do? What kind of equipment you use right now? Because when you started, equipment was different. What are you using right now?
Well, I did start differently on a different body of camera. I was always with Canon for
Mm,
a long time. Um, then I was ready to go into the mirrorless space, but Canon had not released the mirrorless. And my camera was old at that point. I really needed, and it was very heavy. And I was starting to get like neck issues and back issues and wrists, holding the camera for such a long time. So I went to Sony. So
mm.
I used to shoot with a Sony A7R III. Now it's about a 5-year old or 6-year old camera. And then I edit on a MacBook. Yeah.
Wow. Now you said something that was interesting because I said to myself, so I had a friend, she's a photographer. Sandra, when I tell you, she was taking pictures in bushes off the top of the roof. She was had
Mm.
people in the middle of the street. Her work is amazing. She's extremely creative.
Mhm.
But I just say to myself, how do you're down on your knees, you're crawling around, you're in the bushes. She
Mhm.
does all these crazy things. So you said it was bothering you, it was causing you some health issues. Talk about that a little bit for a little bit, because I don't think people think about the physical side of it. They think I'm just going to take my camera, I'm going to hold it and take some pictures.
Yeah.
What's the physical side of that?
Well, that's another reason why I've kind of just or niched myself into like what I know now what I want to do because the physical issues that I have. I have terrible, terrible back issues. Um, sometimes my wrist hurts from all the editing that I've done in the past, not having the right setup for my editing, just editing on my laptops anywhere. It's not the best way. Also using the mouse to edit versus a
Mhm.
tablet with a pen, which I switched to many years ago. That was really helpful. And neck pains, so I don't do the events anymore. I've done the weddings. Being on my feet for a very long time is just not something that, it's good for me anymore. So now the portrait studio, that's the other thing. I would go on location. This is my recently is my first time since I'm able to have my own studio space, a small studio space. And I love that
Mhm.
because all my stuff is I don't have to carry it anywhere. I've always carried my
Yeah.
gear on location, which I still do for bigger jobs, but just making it easier on myself and my body. Yeah. So I've had to
Keep talk about
adjust.
editing for us.
Hmm.
Yeah. When it comes to editing, because now you have so much competition with this kind of filter and that kind of filter, and
Oh
I was
yes.
watching I was watching the video last night on TikTok. They got a wedding filter, so it was a girl and she hit a filter and then she was in full blown wedding gear. Has that caused a
No.
not a problem, but like has that also been like a competition point when you think about the work that you do? Because can you give people that raw footage and like let them edit it themselves, or do you continue to
Yeah.
edit? How has that been?
So for branding clients, it depends on the branding client. Some
Mhm.
people have their look down. They know how they want their images to look, and I will give them slightly edited but not fully edited images, just like
Mhm.
skin retouching, exposure, just the basics. And then I send them. I if they want that, I can do that. Send them their images where they will apply the filter that they like for their look. Um, so that's not a problem. In the branding space, that's not a problem because it's understood. You have your brand, and if you have your what they've been, your clients have already been seeing you put out, so you have to be consistent. Now in the beauty space, when I do photo shoots for maturity or anything like that, I fully edit everything. Um, but there is a big no that all photographers say is you don't apply a filter over the fully edited image because you just erased everything I did. So,
Oh
and then some of these filters really aren't flattering to the image, so it
no.
doesn't really showcase. And then you're putting out the photographer's work, and it seems like that photographer edited
Mm.
it that way.
Ooh, let's talk about that one. So I
Hmm.
was in a meeting year before last with the someone who was running for political office, and he had a photographer. Now I knew that sometimes you don't own the pictures. I don't care if you pay for them or not. And so I said to him, and this guy, so I was in the initial meeting with him and the photographer, and he was very professional, but he was a little rigid. And I said to him after the meeting, I says, who's gonna own the pictures once he takes them for you? He says, what do you mean? I'm gonna own them. I'm paying for them. I was like, nah, you might want to check with him
Hmm.
because you pay for them doesn't necessarily mean you own them. And he said, I've never heard that before. So he went back to the photographer and he asked the question, hey, are these gonna be my pictures? He's like, well, you could use them, but you can't change them. And he named a whole bunch of things that he could not do. He said, in order for you to do these, he had to pay another additional $1,200.
Hmm.
He's like, I had never heard. So, but I was glad that I mentioned it to him because I would hate for him to have put those pictures somewhere that he really could not use them.
Hmm.
So, how
Hmm.
does that work with you? Like once people come to you, who actually owns the right to the pictures?
I own the rights to the pictures.
Mm,
Yeah, they're allowed to use them for an agreed use. If it's a maternity, a beauty shoot, glamour shoot, then personal use most of the time. You can't go
mhm,
and put him in, I don't know, sc- put him on a book and like sell him, 50,000 copies all over the world, whatever you want to call it. You can't
mhm,
go ahead and do that. Now for branding images, we come to an agreement as to what are you going to use them for. You can use them for your marketing. That, of course, that's the whole purpose of the branding shoot. So that's why there may be a cost difference when it comes to branding, because they are allowed to make money off of my images using
mhm,
my work basically.
mhm,
But for the most part, yeah, the photographer owns the rights. Whoever clicked the shutter, that's what as they say, that they're the owner of that picture. Now, if like in your friend's case, yeah, he would have had to pay, and that's not that bad, $1,200 to own the rights some places will be like thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to own the rights because it really depends on what they're going to use them for. Yeah.
So now let me ask you this, because this has always been a question, and I know you probably can answer this. If I'm taking a picture, let's say again, this is a government official, I shoot that person's picture and I did the shutter, I hit the shutter. Can I use that picture or that person likeness for what I want to use it for because I took the picture?
Well, I think that's a gray area nowadays. I know in the past it was you're a public person. If you're in a public
Mhm.
area where there was a lot of other people, then it's allowed. That's your image. You could do whatever you want with that picture. And now with AI coming out and people kind of manipulating things, I think that's going to change somewhat. It should. I mean, I wouldn't want my image being put on putting being put out there doing something that I wasn't doing, and they're doing that. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So really, really, in the past, like I said, it was allowed, but celebrities, especially, are pushing back on a lot of that. So there may be some change coming.
All right. You got entrepreneurs, a potential entrepreneurs that are listening to this interview right now. They want to start a photography business. What are three things that you can tell them to help them get started in this space? And what to look out for? Three pros and three cons.
Mm, okay. So the three things to look out for in this space is getting taken advantage of,
Mm,
especially when you're starting out, which is fine because you need the exposure, you need the experience. But there's a certain point you need to know, okay, I've been doing this for this many years, or I've done this many shoots. I don't need the exposure anymore. I need to get paid. That's probably one of the big ones. Learning to the back end of your business, not just the creative side. You must learn sales, marketing, for your business. I didn't do that in the beginning. It took me a long time. When my husband's always been into marketing and business since I've known him, and he loves that conversation. But he would tell me, like, you need to learn to do this. I hate this. I hate this part of the business. I would just want to take pictures. And he's like, you have to learn to run your business. So now I love it. Now I love that side of the business. And working on valuing yourself, your mindset. That's a huge one. Mindset, because that's going to
mm,
help you price yourself. That's going to help you not being taken advantage of. That's going to
mm-hmm.
help you figure out who your client is as well. So really working on your mindset and your blockers, any blockers that you may have, because we all have them. We all have them. The cons, it is a very competitive business. Like you said before, it's a very male dominated business for, if it's a woman like me, but you can't let that stop you. It you learning cons, you have to learn time management, where you need to stop working. I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because you love what you do, especially when you love what you do.
Yeah.
There is no time off. You're always working. But your family needs you to, if you have a family, you need to learn to stop and manage your time really well. Let's see what other con. Finance is just, like, not, like we were saying before, not spending on gear that you don't need.
Yeah.
You really don't need to have all the lenses, all the lights. I've known many photographers who have tons of lenses and they maybe use two because those are their favorite lenses. But just in case we have this one, just in case you have that one, you can rent them. You can rent the gear.
I think that can become an addiction. Like I
Yes.
remember, I remember when I first started out in business, right? And my husband, we weren't married yet. He's supposed to be an investor, but we eventually got married. But I would order courses. I became a course junkie,
Oh
so I would
yes.
order cut courses and hide them. This is when they mail your course to the house, right? They don't do that
Oh
anymore.
yeah.
Everything is digital. So the boxes would come, and before he came home, I would hide the course because it was like I was a junkie for courses. So I feel like photography can be one of those things. Like I'm a gadget junkie right now. Like I love gadgets, right? I
Mhm.
got so many microphones, y'all. It's unbelievable. So every Christmas they said, "What do you want for Christmas?" I either say a microphone or a laptop or some kind of digital something. This year they wouldn't give me any of that. Like you're not getting that. And I was like, but that's what I want. So I feel like that can become a for real live habit, just buying
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Mm-hmm.
because it's exciting to open up something new, and your justification is for the business.
But also, courses are a big one in photography too. I have been known to own a lot of courses, all types of courses, technique, business, marketing, all that. But it's also an excuse to not like sometimes to not to start or, you
Mm,
know, so it's for some people, so
mhm,
oh, well, I'm not really professional unless I have this. I'm not really professional unless I learn this technique, or or it's again, maybe it's some sort of they feel like they need it because they need to get better. Maybe they do, but I think you shouldn't make sure you're writing for the right reason, right?
mhm,
Like if you actually have a well-paying job that requires you to use the widest lens there is out there, then okay, you write it off. You put it as part of the job.
right.
But if you just wanted to have it just in case because you want to start promoting in this type of work, start getting the work first, and then rent it in the beginning if you don't have the money, rent the gear. And then once you start, you like the work doing that work. Because what if you hate it and you
Mhm,
bought this really expensive piece of equipment, right?
right.
Um, so yeah, I know I've been there.
So you told us who your favorite photographer is. Who would you like to shoot? And if you can shoot one
Oh,
person, who would that be?
I mean, I'm gonna be a little cheesy here, but I love J Lo. I'm from New York. She's a
Listen,
Latina.
you want, yeah,
I love.
you would like
She's
to
a
shoot J Lo.
Latina.
Nice.
She's done so
Yeah.
much for the Latinas. The way she started where I know she came from. She's from the Bronx. I know where she came from. I remember seeing her on A Living Color as a backup
In color.
dancer. I saw her whole
Yeah.
journey, and
Yeah.
I I think it'll be fun. And she's super creative. She'd be down to
Yeah.
try almost anything because so into fashion. So I think it'll be a fun shoot.
Is that on your vision board?
It should be. You're right. I hear you. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's just something you kind of like. Oh, that would be fun. But yeah, I should put it on my vision board. You're right.
You should put it in because I feel like J Lo would be a lot of fun. J Lo is a powerhouse, and
Yes.
I remember when she was dancing on 11 Color because we all loved it because it was
Yes.
a show that was about diversity, and it was on
Mm-hmm.
national television, so everybody watched it in living color. Everybody watched that,
Mm-hmm.
so it was great
Mm-hmm.
to see her. But that's pretty doggone cool, pretty cool. When you get to shoot her, um, I need you to tell her about the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce, and I need you to make sure that I'm in the room.
Yes.
I can bring coffee. I can bring. I
Yes.
don't know if she eat donuts. Maybe empanadas
Yeah.
or something. I don't know.
We're
Whatever it
gonna we're
is.
gonna need a
I,
big team, and I'll
yeah.
make sure you're included in that.
Yes. Thank you. I would appreciate that. Appreciate that. This relationship connection marketing. That's
Yes.
what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So listen. Any last words before we say goodbye?
Well, I want to thank you.
Well,
You have created an amazing group of women. I'm very excited to be a part of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber. At the launch, I just loved everything you spoke about, what you want the chamber to represent. And I joined as a founder because I see the potential in the chamber. And I just love what you're doing and just highlighting. And I could tell you're really doing it out of a place of service that you really enjoy highlighting women in their business. And I'm just so thankful that I was there and I was able to join. Thank you.
thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do. I do. I've been doing this for a long time. I've had so many women ventures. I've had women TV shows. I've had women magazines. I even had the first women's newspaper in New Jersey called Women in Business Today,
Oh
which we're
yeah.
back 360 degrees with this show, Women in Business Today. So
Yes.
this started out as a show, a radio show, then a TV show, a newspaper. Now we're back 20 years, 23 years later.
That's cool.
We're back doing the same thing. So thank you for being a member. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your support. Thank you for always showing up. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Listen, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Be sure to follow Sandra. Her website is there. You tell me your website, man, because
Yeah,
I'm
my
losing my
website is
voice here.
it's okay. My website is sandramadhere.com, Madhere. You can connect with me there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message, follow me, connect with me, and just let's have coffee.
That's right. Have coffee. If you like this episode, there's another one tomorrow. Be sure to go to GwinnettWomen'sChamber.com. You'll see it there. Or go to LinkedIn. You'll see it there. We'll be back tomorrow with another great woman. She has an amazing story. She came from an abusive relationship. She had twin boys, and she's doing amazing things. So be sure to tune in tomorrow. And then that's like 6 o'clock tomorrow. So just go to LinkedIn. It's there. Go to the website. It's there as well. We'll be back again tomorrow. I gotta go because I'm over here choking. Thank you, Sandra.
Okay.
Enjoy
Thank
the rest
you.
of the day. You're welcome.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Talk Business with Audrey. Bringing you another powerful resource to help you start or grow your business so that you can live the boss life. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the show now, share it with your friends, and drop Audrey a note over at www.talkbusinessaudrey.biz.